Oh, 1 second.
Okay, Councillor Ali, it started recording if you want to start the meeting.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone. I would like to advise residents participating or listening to the online meeting that the recording will be available for future record on the Council's YouTube channel. On the agenda today, we've got 4 items: the Public Health and Wellbeing Strategy Consultation, and Joanne Bradley from the Public Health will lead on that item shortly. Then we've got the Commonwealth Games, the Celebrating Communities Fund update from Pat White. The local police, Sergeant Snape is here for any local issues, and then local community updates and local issues towards the end. So moving straight on to Joanne Bradley from Public Health about the Public Health and Wellbeing Strategy Consultation. Joanne,
thank you, Councillor. Thank you for inviting me this evening. I'm at your forum on behalf of the Health and Wellbeing Board. I'm here to share with you an opportunity for you to get involved and comment on the draft Health and Wellbeing Board strategy for 2022 to 2030. If I just give a little bit of background, and apologies to those of you who are well informed about the work of Public Health and the Health and Wellbeing Board, but if you could just bear with me. So Public Health are responsible for protecting and improving the health and wellbeing of the population, but we also have a specific responsibility to help reduce health inequalities, and that's the gap between the health of the richest and the health of the poorest in the city. The Health and Wellbeing Board has been around since 2013 and is a place for political, clinical, professional and community leaders from across the health and care system in Birmingham to come together to work in partnership and to do their best to help improve the health and wellbeing of residents and reduce health inequalities, including those that have been worsened by the pandemic. And I'm just going to share some slides with you. Oh, as usual, a problem displaying content. What a surprise. Let's try once more. Here we go. Can you see that? Excellent. Okay. So having a strategy to improve health and wellbeing is a must-do for the Health and Wellbeing Board. And the proposed 8-year strategy, Creating a Bolder, Healthier City, sets out the ambitions up to 2030. This draft strategy has been shaped and developed over the last 3 years, building, learning and incorporating the experiences from the Public Health Green Paper consultation in 2019, which you may remember being involved with, insights from our joint strategic needs assessment, focus groups, research and surveys. All of these have helped to shape the draft. The board also recognises that this is a partnership approach and no one organisation can do it on their own. And at the core of this is the Health and Wellbeing Board's vision, where the focus is on citizens of Birmingham and ensuring that everything is informed by your lived experiences. So this is an overview of the proposed strategy incorporated into a diagram, and it highlights the themes, the stages and the areas of inequalities the strategy will address. The aim of the strategy is to close the gaps and inequalities at pace and scale across the city. It has 5 core themes for action, and these are the 5 blue boxes on the slide, and they cover the wider determinants of health, health protection and environmental public health. 4 of these core themes align with existing Health and Wellbeing Board forums. So the first core theme is healthy and affordable food, and that links in with our Creating a Healthy Food City forum. Second one is mental wellness and balance, and that links in with the Creating a Mentally Healthy City forum. The third one is active at every age and ability, and this links in with Creating an Active City forum. The fourth one is contributing to a green and sustainable future. And the fifth one, protect and detect, which links in with our health protection forum. The Health and Wellbeing Board supports a life course approach, and this is split into 3 life stages. And those are the 3 grey boxes at the bottom of the slide. So getting the best start in life, working well, ageing and dying well, And this is reflected in the strategy with 5 core themes running throughout this life course, alongside mitigating the legacy of COVID and equality, diversity and inclusion. And these are represented by the blue arrow strip second from bottom. The closing the gap section, which is the pink circle arrow, this aims to address health inequalities and is linked to poverty, marginalisation and structural barriers and challenges. There are 5 key areas of inequalities of focus in the strategy, and they include the inequalities based on deprivation, on ethnic communities, on wards, inequalities between inclusion groups such as the homeless population, and inequalities affecting people with disabilities. The delivery of the strategy will explore these inequalities, identifying any significant gaps and dedicating specific resource and effort to addressing them, closing them and improving outcomes for citizens in Birmingham. But how will we know what we're doing, and how are we going to measure the impact of our efforts? We will measure the impact of the strategy over the next 5 to 10 years, and the forums I mentioned will agree specific and measurable indicators to track the changes and demonstrate progress. You can
You muted yourself, Joanne.
Okay, that's always helpful, thank you. So we're going to measure the impact of the strategy over the next 5 to 10 years, and the forums I mentioned are going to will agree specific and measurable indicators to track the changes and demonstrate progress. You can see from the indicators here that with infant mortality and life expectancy, Birmingham is presented as significantly worse than the England average, so there's lots of work to do. So how you and other people across Birmingham can get involved in reading and commenting on the proposed strategy, creating a bolder, healthier city.
Hello, can you hear me?
Okay, so for those of you at the meeting, you're obviously very much tech savvy, so you can go to the Be Heard website where the draft strategy and consultation can be found. So you can read the document and share your feedback there. You might also want to think about what is suggested in the document and how that can inform and impact on your ward plan. You can also ask any questions about the strategy or consultation by emailing the address on the slide. I understand that there's going to be some focus groups taking place across the city as well to try and capture the views of people who may not attend a ward forum or people who are uncomfortable contributing online. And for young people, we're hoping to have a roundtable discussion with the Youth City Board, and at least one of the focus groups we'll be organising will be for young people. Alternatively, if you've got any burning questions this evening, I can make a note of those and take them away and get a response for you. But I imagine that you'll want to read the strategy first. I'll put the links into the chat and happily share a copy of the slides for you to look at another time. And that's it, really. Thank you. Any questions that you need me to take away?
A hand up from Dawn. Dawn, would you like to ask your question? Dawn, if you can hear me, you've got your hand raised. Would you like to ask a question?
Hi, I'm one of the residents in Nechells. A lot of the community are here because we were under the impression we've came to talk about the new hostels that have been put up in Nechells Park Road. This is why we're all here. We know about the public health strategy. We've all read it. The thing is, it's very contradictory why we're here, because the public health strategy talks about better living and in deprived areas. We're in a deprived area and now it's just become more deprived. The crime stats since this new HMO has been put up has risen ridiculously. There's 19 people here. But if you look at the deprivation of Nechells, the crime stats were never as high as they are now. Actually, we're actually one of the lowest areas for crime. You wouldn't believe what we are.
Yeah.
Yeah. We are now that I live on Nechells Park Road along with many of my neighbours here. I live on Stanley Road. Yeah, and on our road I've got one right opposite my house, and then we've got the new one on Nechells Park Road, which was the old the nursing home. Yeah. Since that nursing home that hostel has came, the crime stats in the area has risen by about 6%. There has been robberies.
Because this item is on the public health and wellbeing strategy consultation, we got the police coming in after the next item, and there's the local issues where you can raise that issue at that point. Can I say
it's not the police that are giving permission for these buildings to be made?
Can I say you wait till the appropriate time on the agenda for it to be raised?
So what's this here for? What are we here for then now?
This is the ward forum.
Is that what we're here for?
This is the ward forum, and there's an agenda, and we'll go down the agenda. You'll have an opportunity to raise local issues on item number 5.
That's what we're here to do now.
I have muted you because what I want to do is get on with the agenda, and when we get to the appropriate point, please raise any local issues at that point. Any issues on the consultation on the public health and wellbeing strategy consultation? I can't see no more. Joanne, thank you for the presentation, and thank you for informing us in terms of how residents will be able to input into the strategy, those especially that were not being able to make the meeting online today.
Thank you, Councillor Ali. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you. The next item is Commonwealth Games Celebrating Communities Fund. Pat White is going to go through the process and give us an update on that. And after that will be Sergeant Snape, who's had a prior indication in terms of the crime statistics in Nechells. Over to you, Pat.
Thank you, Councillor Ali. I've not got my camera on because I'm going to be sharing something on the screen with those on the call. So if you just give me 1 minute. I'm just checking. Are people able to see my screen at the moment?
Nope.
Are you able to see that?
Oh, yeah, it's
we are now.
Okay, thank you. This is just a whistle-stop tour, councillors and those residents that are on the call. Celebrating Communities. It's a funding that has come about in readiness for 2022 Commonwealth Games. It's a small grants fund that is available to community groups in our 69 wards in Birmingham. Nechells has a small grant pot which groups, residents groups and local organisations can apply for. There are 3 categories in order to access this fund. Getting Active, Ready Steady Fund and Celebrating Culture. Getting Active, as the slide shows, it's where we want to encourage communities to get out and get active by participating in sports and recreational activities. And some of these activities would be around community games, sports days, bringing people together and doing some form of activities within the streets and the park. Our second thematic area is Ready Steady Fun. We're looking to see community projects which help to ensure that local areas are games ready. As you know, the games will be here in July. I think the Queen's Baton was sent on its way this morning. And so, you know, hosting under this category, we like hosting community celebration to develop active citizens and reduce loneliness and also social isolation. again, some of the activities would be street parties or picnic, or making our communities connect in a more positive way for the games. The last one is around celebrating culture, and it's the culture of your area, historical culture, cultures of different Commonwealth countries come together. So that is also one of our thematic, and we would like to encourage those on the call to have a look at how we celebrate culture, not just in Birmingham, but in your own local area. How can you get involved? As we obviously have conversations with your elected member, being Councillor Ali, and also we have, as Nechells has got a ward plan, some of the proposals will align itself to that ward plan. There is a process, and I will put in the chat the link to Birmingham Community Matters, so it tells you what the process is. This is the second round that we're going into. The first round took place and the closing date was June of this year. The second round commenced in September and closes on the 30th of November. I'll make more links to that in a minute. There are 3 applications of funding pots. You can apply from £100 to £1,000. That's category 1. Projects that are looking for funding between £1,000 and £1 to £5,000 is another category, and the final project will be £5,001 to £10,000. I need to also say on the call that Nechells has as it's a 1-member ward, the funding for Nechells, I believe, is 17,500 rather than in some wards where you have 2 elected members where the funding pot there is 35,000. As I've mentioned before, that there is a funding round. We've just gone through round 1. I've just skipped a page, but we're now on to round 2. As I've just said, if you follow my mouse, September to November, that's when the closing date for applications will be received. Between December and January, those proposals will be appraised by colleagues within the Neighbourhood and Development Support Unit, which I'm part of the team, and recommendations, or if there are applications that need strengthening, we would go back to the applicant and ask for more details or assist them with filling in the application form. As I said, I will put a link in the chat, which Birmingham Community Matters and Locality are local community groups that are supporting and assisting groups in order to complete an application form. Right, sorry, I've just jumped ahead. There is also some animated information online. Again, I'll put that into the chat, Councillor. If there's any questions that people would like to ask, by all means do so. I'll stop sharing.
Questions on this item only at the moment. Please indicate by raising the hand. I can't see anyone unless you can, Kay.
No, I can't see anybody's hand at all.
No, thank you for that. The next item of agenda is the local police update from Sergeant Snape. Sergeant Snape, can you please give us an update in terms of crime figures in Nechells, and in particularly the issue that was raised on Nechells Park Road following the opening up of the former nursing home. So over to you.
Yes, certainly. Good evening, everyone. I'm Sergeant Pete Snape from the Nechells neighbourhood team. Bit of background to start with. For the last few months, we've been operating with 2 PCs and 1 restricted PC, unfortunately, due to COVID guidelines, not been able to go out, but he's been working diligently behind the scenes and still getting results, which is really good. Unfortunately, my PCSO, who is absolutely fantastic, Georgina Thompson, has broken her foot at the moment, so she's out the game as well, unfortunately, which is really unfortunate timing because she's absolutely brilliant with getting involved in schools and delivering inputs, etc. So with the schools coming back in September, we've really missed her, if there are any people from the schools online at the moment. The good news with regards to that is one of the PCSOs of our neighbouring teams is now on a flexible pattern and will be working Monday to Friday. And yesterday I got her to make contact with the primary schools and Heartland Academy in the area with a view to getting some inputs before Georgina does come back to us eventually. So it's not all doom and gloom on that front. As well as the local neighbourhood issues, also we have a wider responsibility for the Ladywood East constituency, which involves Aston, Smallheath and Highgate. And as you can imagine, there's an awful lot of activity which is happening in Aston, particularly around gangs, and one of our priorities is under 25 violence. So we are abstracted, for want of a better word, out of the area to assist with other matters as well. Just with regards to crime figures, earlier in the year, I think it made the press, particularly in Manchester, who got slated for a lot of sort of hidden crimes that they hadn't recorded. Our Chief Constable made a decision that we were going to be open and transparent with absolutely everything. Not that there was any intention not to before, but prior to sort of the beginning of the year, if there was an assault which had been recorded, the hidden offences behind it, such as harassment or coercive control or other matters that could arguably have been crime then, weren't being crimed. So the Chief Constable made a decision that we were going to crime absolutely everything in accordance with Home Office counting rules. So as a result, naturally, by being open and transparent with everything and setting up a log quality closure team, the figures have naturally increased, as you would expect. It's if you go into an area and search hundreds of people legitimately for drugs and then find the drugs, the crime figures for drugs is going to increase. So the figures, with the year-to-date figures for the Nechells area, with the exception of hate crime, which is down 33%, and violence with injury for under 25s, which is down by 38.46%, all of the other categories have actually increased. Every month we get to see I see them on a daily basis, but every month one of our coordinators puts all of the figures together. So I'm aware of what's going on constantly, but he puts them all together. And we have a top 5 demand generators for locations and a top 5 for domestic abuse victims. This month, clearly the hostel or HMO, House of Multiple Occupancy, which has been introduced into, well, there's 2. We've had one in Chatsway Street and also the other one, I think you said Nechells Park Road. Our address is coming up as Stanley Road, but it's the old nursing home, so it's the same premises that we're talking about. And that is in the top 5 demand generators for offences. Yesterday I went and met with the management company and spent an hour and a half having a conversation with them and pointing out the fact that the crime levels that we're experiencing from there are unacceptable at the moment, and we need to work together to obviously stop it or reduce it. They're very receptive. It was a good meeting. They've already sent through the list of tenants that they've got stopping with them, which we're obviously going to put some work into looking at and getting back to them. And they were sort of saying there's a bit of a rotation of 3, 4, 5 a week. So once we've done the initial viewings of those, it shouldn't be such an onerous task as we go on, because they don't all change and some can be there for quite a while. It was a little bit disappointing at the start with, they were saying that initially it was due to be set up for domestic abuse victims, but that changed, and the council have now sort of made it that it's for homelessness rather than what the original plan was for the building. As Dawn said earlier, obviously the police have to police what's in front of them, whatever that may be. So we can't have any impact on that, and we're doing what we can to try and obviously reduce the levels of crime that are taking place in the area. We are well aware of it. We're also aware of things that have been posted on social media sites, which show a lot of police activity outside when dealing with some of the incidents that we've had to deal with, which don't look very good, obviously, to the outside world, but it's required to deal with the matter at the time. So that's a bit of a snapshot of what's been going on. I'm obviously happy to take any questions, no problem.
If I can start off before I bring in Beth's got her hand up, and then Daniel and Dawn I want to bring in as well. Initially, when this application went in back in December, the residents did submit a petition to the planning committee, and they were raising their concerns, which have come true. And obviously the planning committee, because they operate in a quasi-judicial manner, that they granted the planning application, despite the residents and myself objecting to it. Now, I don't see this as simply an issue that you as a police have to deal with the management. I think there needs to be an input from the council as well as the residents to this, because it's the residents that have got to put up with the criminal activity that is going on. So really grateful that you've had a meeting with the management committee there. But what I would suggest is, rather than everyone trying to contact them through yourself, Peter, if we can get council officers involved, myself, and maybe 2 or 3 residents. So what we're going to do is put an end to the criminal activity and the antisocial behaviour that's happening, because that is not acceptable. The residents were right in saying that this would happen, and it has happened. And I will be personally writing to the chair of planning committee to say the voices of local residents need to be taken into consideration when these applications are made. Beth, then it was Daniel, and then Dawn. Beth first. Beth Bailey.
Good evening. I'm Beth Bailey. I'm the project manager at Nechells Pod. I just wanted to ask Sergeant Snape if you could clarify something for me. We've had a couple of issues with trying to report some prevent concerns in the last 10 days. And both times, having spoken to the Prevent helpline, they've said that we need to make a referral through Birmingham Adult Safeguarding, and that then the information will be passed to them, which has been done. But Birmingham Adult Safeguarding are saying, no, we still need to report it separately. So I was just wondering if you can clarify which is the best way to make a Prevent concern that's actually going to be looked into.
I would say the best way of doing it is to get a log put onto the system. I know that if you contact 101, you could be hanging around online for an awful long time. But if you go online and do it by the computer, then a log will be generated from that. And once the log's generated, as I said about things that need criming and everything else, it's very difficult to get a log closed without being actioned correctly. So it will end up going to the right place once the log's on. So I'd go online and do it.
So directly to West Midlands Police online for that?
Yeah, definitely.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much for clarifying that.
Okay.
And Beth, it was a wonderful event at the pod yesterday.
Yes, thank you for attending. Unfortunately, I was at hospital with my son, who's also broken his foot.
Sorry to hear that.
So yeah, I was unfortunately unable to be there, but thank you for attending. We really appreciated that.
Daniel, you're next.
Hello. Right, first of all, just like to thank everybody that's come, because like Dawn, the reason I'm here is to do with to talk about the home. You know, my property is directly across. I live on Stanley Road, directly opposite this. I can see my neighbour across the road, Sister Catherine there. She lives right next door to it. Now, I've been dealing with this from day one. Not even a day when these people moved in. They did a theft around the back of my property. Because I've got cameras, I capture everything. Since they've been here, they've only been here 3 weeks. They've stolen from vehicles around the back of our property, right? And I've seen them take it into their property. There was a woman assaulted the other week. I don't know if anybody was out there when I called the police because of the commotion that was going on. I've got video evidence of the girl getting slapped up outside my house. Nobody's been charged. I've been dealing with, Mr. Snaper said he's been dealing with the management. I've had the manager from over there and the CEO and the director for that company, Midland Living, in my house. That's how far I've taken it. And a lot of the changes that have happened at the moment, like, for instance, the rubbish that was collecting over the times it was there, spilling over my neighbour's garden, it's me being onto them that has got it changed, and they've moved the bin to the front of the property. But the police have actually phoned me, telling me what they think they should do. One of them, I'm glad that the councillor is there, is to get in touch with the councillor. Secondly, was to get in touch with the PCSO, who I find out now is called Miss Thompson, Georgina Thompson, because we need to do something about this. You know, I've had to come out and physically, since these guys have been here, they're walking around, they're having parties in the middle of the night, they're walking around, I've caught them climbing over the roofs, I've reported and captured and documented so much stuff, and had the actual directors. I know if it was Pete and Helen you spoke to, Pete, of this management company, that's who you spoke to. Well, they was in my living room. Okay, so that's how far I've took it, and I'm glad to see that there's so many people disgruntled as well, because we need to get together and do something about it. I've seen so much activity. I'm not scared to come out my house, but every time we walk out of our house, I feel like we're being watched. The guys, you know, last night I'm going to work. You can see I work for British Gas. I do call out. I'll go out. I can hear a man and a woman have some confrontation in one of the rooms, effing and blinding. This is a constant thing. We can't live like this. This is not how we used to live. And I want to know what we're going to do about it and what can we do about it.
Thank you for that, Daniel. I'll try and sum it up. Was the Dawn next, and then Munir Nabi? Dawn?
Hello.
Hello, over to you, Dawn.
Hello, thank you. My name's Dawn Pardo. I'm an ambassador at Nechells Primary. I was one who set up a petition also. And we didn't hear anything about the meeting to the decision that was being made regarding the building. I've opened our community hub this evening, and we have 20+ people who have grave concerns this evening. So I'd like to hand it over now to other people who'd like to speak and maybe voice their concerns.
Yeah, thank you, Dawn. Apologies, I had to mute you earlier on, but there was other items of agenda. I was in touch in discussions with the head teacher when the petition was being drawn up. So perhaps when we set up this group that works with the nursing home, and I'm going to call it a nursing home at the moment, perhaps if the room in the school could be made available, if that's possible.
Hi.
But Munir?
Hi there. I'm David.
Can I bring Munir in and then David?
Yeah, sure.
Munir first.
Thank you.
He's waiting patiently.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks and thank you for having me. Sam again, raising the issue, the building on Stanley Nechells Park. My neighbour there, Danny, last week he was out there taking pictures, wanted to know what was happening with this. I mean, it's, you know, there's a building there, and you've got these individuals, and in this area, especially this part of the Nechells here, there's a lot of elderly and young children, you know, and most of the elderly that live there have been for 30 to 40 years, you know, been living there. I've just recently moved in a couple of years ago, you know. What I've seen with this building now, it's getting out of hand, and I'm quite afraid because there's children there, moms, dads taking their kids to school, bringing them back up. There's a lot of young kids around here, and also, we're forgetting there's a park down the road. Park. Come summertime, these individuals that are in that building, they'll be out there. Just afraid. I don't know how it has become, how they were taken from one place and located in Nechells, and what authorities and what time, what made them come here, and who authorized them to move them from one building from a different area. Don't go away from
Can I just add in there as well that Mr. Snape, that they closed the council closed the one in Edgbaston because of the antisocial behaviour, and they've moved them to this Nechells place. That's why it wasn't to do with the council asked him to move. The council closed the one in Edgbaston because of the ASB issues, and then they shipped them all to here.
That was the one in June Road, wasn't it?
If everyone can mute their mics, and then David, if you come in, and Daniel, if you want to come back in again, then please raise your hand and I'll bring you in. So David, over to you. David.
Hi. So I'm the current head teacher of Nechells Primary. I was previously deputy head and the previous head teacher who you met with, Councillor. I've had obviously a number of residents come to me with their concerns, and there are obviously mounting concerns around this HMO. I am a little bit confused why it's not registered. I know obviously not all HMOs have to be registered, but I think with what we've just discussed, it doesn't make sense that it's not registered, because I think it should be with the local council and local authority. But equally, in terms of moving things forward, we as a school will support all our parents, some of whom are on this call, and equally our community within our community hub, which is where some people are attending this evening to join this ward meeting. We will facilitate anything that's needed to support the progress of this, because it's having an impact on our children, our families, and our community, and that's not acceptable.
Thank you, David. What I'll do is, if you email me tomorrow, we'll exchange numbers, and then we'll take things from there, because I don't want to drag this on longer than necessary, because urgent and an immediate action is needed on that. Bernice Morgan has put and Bernice.
Hello, good evening, everybody. Right, I live opposite the home, and we've got groups of men hanging around outside. That as soon as I open my front door, that's the first thing I'm confronted with: men hanging around, staring over. I'm Daniel's wife, and we had the management people in our house trying to discuss with them the behaviour of the people over there. They told us they had 5 golden rules. And the first golden rule was that there was no smoking in the building. Well, I've got many pictures of the men sitting on their window ledge, smoking out the window. Now, that's what I'm faced with as soon as I open my blinds of a morning. It's not acceptable. They'll sit out the front eating food. If that was a normal house and somebody was sitting in their front garden eating their dinner, staring across at their neighbours, something would be done about it. But we're expected to just put up with this. They moved them away from the front, and they've moved them down onto Nechells Park Road to the entrance there. Women and children have got to walk past there every single day, and that's the first thing they see. It's intimidating. It's intimidating to me. There used to be, there's a lot of elderly people around here. They're scared to come out. We've got them up the shops, begging outside the shops. If you speak to the shopkeepers, they're losing trade, because a lot of people won't go to the shops because you're confronted not just by 1 or 2, there's 4 or 5 of them up there, all harassing people trying to get into the shops. I'd like to know what's going to be done about that. The people over at the home have told us, told me and Danny to our faces, that there's nothing they can do about that. that once their residents have left the property, it's nothing to do with them what they do. You know, well, that can't be right. You know, we never had any of this before. I know it was an old people's home, you know, 20 odd years. We never had a bit of trouble. And this, it's been going on, what, for a month? And it's constant. Every single day, there's something new. You know, how long are we expected to put up with this? It's okay documenting all these things, but nothing happens. You know, who are we supposed to report it to?
Okay. Anyone else? There's still 3 hands up. I assume they're from previous indications because they've all spoke. Anyone else that wants to speak can do so. Right. Sergeant Snape, David Camps, myself to meet within the next few days. When I say next few days, within the next 2-3 days. I don't know what your shift patterns are, Sergeant. And then if there's any residents that want to be part of this group, if you can please indicate in the messaging message function, then what we'll do is we'll make sure that you're around the table. So we have a proper action plan and accountability to make sure that this issue is dealt with. Now, Daniel, I hope that you can be part of this group because you've took the initiative of inviting the management committee into your front room, and anyone else would be more than welcome. But what we don't want to have is a group of that is too large to manage. So as long as there's a good representation from the local area, then hopefully I think we'll get to the bottom of this. Sergeant Snape, do you want to come back in?
No, I'm more than happy to be part of that. You asked about my shift pattern. Obviously, I've got 2 more days after today before 3 days off. So if you could do it Friday or Saturday, then that would be fantastic. Failing that, I'll be from Wednesday next week.
From Wednesday next week. Daniel, what's your shift pattern?
Well, I do work 7 days a week, to be honest with you. But if a time is chose, I'll make myself there. There is one of my neighbours across the road, because when I had the management team in here, Yaz from across the road, I don't know if he's in this meeting, I can't see his name. He sat in with me because he's one of the, what I call the pillars of our community on my road. Along
yes,
with I
yes,
assisted.
we all know him.
You all know Yaz, right?
Yeah.
That's right. So Yaz, me and Yaz, we've been neighbours for years, and also my gorgeous sister Catherine over there, who lives right next to it. And Sister Catherine does not knock doors or ask for anything, but this woman had to come over to my house and knock my door and ask me to try and do something about the rubbish and the smell. So you know, I will speak to Yaz and Sister and see if they want to be part of it as well.
Yeah.
Because these people who have like I say, you know, a lot of the community look up to them. And Yaz, when he was speaking to these people, when I communicate, sometimes I come across as a bit brash and whatever. Yaz dealt with them perfectly, and he spoke to them on their level. He shut them up, and that's what I loved. We need that type of person, yourself, councillor, that can sit down and speak to them, because they were telling us, you know, oh, the people that have moved in, you know, they're on hard times. A lot of them are accountants and this and the other. Well, I showed them the video of their accountants when there was 6 or 7 police around him, and the guy's got his shirt all ripped off, telling him, "Don't touch me, don't touch me." And I said, and then when I emailed them, I said, "Well, there's your accountants. These are the type of people that you've moved in, and these are the ones that came from the Edgbaston residents that the council shut down." That's what people don't realise. That was shut down because of this ASB issue, and they moved them in quick succession into that property. And within less than 8 hours, there was breaking into a van and stealing the gardening equipment. You see what I mean? Within less than 8 hours, these are the people that are living across my road. Okay.
David, I'm going to put you on the spot. Is Wednesday next week a good day for you, me, Daniel, and Sergeant to meet? And then we can get the white group together.
And we can host at the school if that suits.
Yeah, that'd probably be more central to everyone. Sergeant, what time next Wednesday? We'll go around your shift pattern.
Anytime in the morning, 10 o'clock would be fantastic.
10 o'clock. Daniel, you okay for
Are we
that?
talking AM or PM?
AM.
AM. Yeah, that should be fine. Yeah, I was going to say 10 o'clock PM, Mr. Snaper. Okay, yeah, I should make myself available. Yeah.
The four of us will meet, and rest assured, none of the rest of the community is going to be excluded or isolated from this. But four of us are going to start off, and we'll have a timeline and a set of action plans that we can then follow through on this.
Where's the meeting going to be? Councillor Ali,
one at a time, please. There was a couple of people speaking.
Yeah, I think Dawn's had a hand up for a little while. I think it's a new hand.
Dawn, was this from previous, or is it a new hand?
Where is the meeting being held?
Initially, we're going to hold it in the school, but it's going to be Daniel, myself, Sergeant, and David.
When?
Wednesday, 10 o'clock.
10?
Yeah, 10 a.m.
Can I have a question for the police, please?
Yeah, definitely. Fire away.
Hi, you spoke earlier on about reducing crime rates and what you can do about it. That is impossible. That's not going to happen. You're not going to reduce the crime rates in Nechells when it went up within 8 hours of it being put up. We have 4 HMOs, 3 on Nechells Park Road, 1 which was my nan's old house. She lived there for 45 years. Listen, they are not going to be reduced. It's going to get worse. Do you not think that people know what they're doing when they put all these HMOs and these deprived people into yet another deprived area? Come on now. You know exactly what everyone is doing. The people are making our communities more deprived because they're already deprived. So they're thinking, you know what, that area is already done with. Let's put them there. No one is caring. Why would you put a big HMO like that on Nechells Park Road next to several schools and parks? All of our kids have grown up there. My own sister was attacked at the Top Shops a couple of weeks ago. A man grabbed her and asked her for sex. Grabbed her up. There was so many witnesses. I've had a girl that I keep going up there. I think she's an addict. She's selling sex up there. She's asking everyone for money. She's asking kids for money. She sits on the window naked. Yeah. There was some sexual activity in our park
3 days last week,
a couple of days ago, where 3 of them were involved. Yeah. So it was all going on in that park. You're not going to, and how long have it been up? 3 weeks. 3 weeks. You will not be able to reduce this. This is going to just get worse. Yeah, I mean, I've a neighbour here that lives right next door to it. You've had, see how many kids you got? 4 kids he's got.
They work into the gardens.
His dad's 85 years old.
I have to go for his pension.
Yeah, because usually he walks up and down. He'd walk up and down himself, wouldn't he? Yeah. He will not walk now. I haven't seen him walk, to be fair.
Yes.
Yeah.
Introduce yourself. Peter Snape.
Yeah, I'm here.
You're right. It's Tom from Star City. You're right.
Hello, Tom.
You're right. Okay, so I'm general manager of Star City in Birmingham. I haven't met some of these people before online. I'm familiar with Peter, but I've come to this. I've got other ideas that I'll talk to the residents about once the meeting's complete. But my concern is, Peter, you know exactly where I'm going to come from now, and I know it's no pressure on yourself, but these residents, they've got no residents association, which I find fascinating. That no, they've got no way of representing themselves, which is partly how we got into this mess to start off with. What reassurance, and I know this is going to be a difficult question, Peter, but what reassurance can the local residents have that they're going to have? I know you're already stretched. You've got what, 2 police officers, 3 PCSOs, people on. Can you see the local councillor? Sorry, I don't know your name, but can you see that how local policing can't cope with what's happening on this road, and it's going to be a matter of time before you end up with something serious happening? Somebody's sexually assaulted, somebody's or something far worse. Like the gentleman said earlier, once you get to summertime, they're all going to be outside in local parks. As a local business that employs many people and it's one of the only businesses that can support people in the local area for employment, I don't particularly want that falling out onto my area either. But what assurances? I presume it's Birmingham City Council which are paying this caring organisation, and the reason they're here, you do realise the reason they're here is for profit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
of course.
In a low cost.
Lower.
So what assurances can we have that it's going to be dealt with? I don't understand why Birmingham City Council will be fueling, paying. The local authority is paying for these individuals to be housed.
Definitely for profit only.
So if they're paying for these individuals to be housed, wouldn't it be worth, if there's all these problems happening, wouldn't it be worth stopping it before it gets any bigger? Because the local authority are actually paying for these people to be put in this location. It seems odd that why would a local authority be making an area worse?
They better put them in Solihull or Sutton Cold.
One of the crucial things.
Just to confirm, there's two questions. The one's for Peter to confirm what kind of resources are being put into the local area in terms of policing to support with this. And my second would be to the councillor. What are you going to do within Birmingham City Council to ensure that these local residents don't get more? I don't know how many beds this nursing home has.
18 down the road.
38 for the nursing home.
18.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Can I respond to them two questions? Well, the one aimed at me, and then the side. Some mics are still on.
Yeah.
If you can please mute your mics. Thank you. In terms of what I can do to prevent further HMOs or exempt accommodation, this is about lobbying government for a change of rule, right? The planning committee have certain parameters which they need to operate in, and what is being done here is, as rightly has been said before, communities are being exploited. These exempt accommodations are going up, and there's been a huge increase in thousands, from hundreds to thousands, in the last few years. So this is about working with the council, with the government, getting a change of legislation to make sure no further HMOs are granted licenses or planning permission without the residents' input. Sergeant, about the resources.
Resources, one of the crucial things I forgot to mention in my updates when I mentioned about the numbers that we got and the issues with my PCSO, but a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel is we're getting 4 extra student officers over the next few weeks coming to Nechells, which will assist massively. They're obviously not a long-term solution because they come on rotation and they're here for anywhere between 10 and 20 weeks. But that will be a significant uplift in our numbers for however short-lived that is. There's 7 ranks above me, unfortunately, in the organisation, and they dictate how we're tasked. And unfortunately, at the moment, with the demands on the force and everything else, we're having to supply to demand. It was called summer demand, but it's been called summer demand since I think April time, when it wasn't even summer. They now realise we're going into autumn, so it's just demand now, because I think the demand is here to stay, being honest. So as a result, we have to provide officers to uplift response. On top of that, I don't know if you've heard of COP26 climate change that's taking place in Glasgow. You might think, what's that got to do with Nechells Police? Plenty, because West Midlands are sending up over 1,000 officers to police that, because they're expecting large-scale disorder. And as a result, I'm having to supply officers to backfill those response public order officers who are going up there. We've then got commitments with mischief fortnight, all the antisocial behaviour around that, where hopefully I'll still get to retain the officers in the area. Then we're moving on to Silent Night, which is the policing operation for nighttime economy over Christmas, where I'll lose officers for that. So I can't give guarantees that officers are going to be ring fenced purely for Nechells issues, but there is light at the end of the tunnel with the student officers, and the rest of it, I just have to take it on the chin and do as I'm told ultimately.
Okay, I think I've allowed plenty of discussion on this item. If there is any other issue of urgent concern that's not been discussed that anyone wants to raise?
Yeah, this is John Street here.
Hi, John.
How you doing? All right.
Yes.
Just on this one issue, because there's so many residents that have turned up. We do appreciate that a meeting next week is going to start a process. There's a city council lobbying, which takes time, and the police are under-resourced to do anything immediately other than phoning 999. So between now and Wednesday, when you start your meeting, there is inevitably going to be children, elderly, local residents who are going to be put at risk and be unsafe. So if there's a lack of resource from the police to deal with that, then eventually local residents will take it into their own hands. Now, obviously, we're not promoting vigilantes, but in order to deal with these things immediately, then surely the answer is to hold the owners accountable to say that they are in breach of whatever rules apply, and to close it immediately until they can act appropriately to safeguard the people in the community. Now, surely that is something that the council and the police have powers to do, is to close it immediately until all of the processes are in place to allow it to open again for supported living. Will they do that?
John, I don't think the council has such powers. It's got to go through a process. And the closure in Edgbaston that was mentioned, that took several years. It wasn't done overnight. It wasn't done within a day or two. Unless the police has got some powers where they can go in and shut it, I don't think the council has. And we will explore this at our meeting next week, rest assured. Sergeant?
Sorry, could the council, somebody has the contract with these with the owners to put them in there, and that contract will obviously say that that there has to be some sanctions for the people and how they behave.
John, it doesn't work like that. There is a process that the council follows, and then there's legislation that applies, which even the council, if it doesn't like it, it doesn't have a say in it. If you want to be part of the meeting on Wednesday, more than happy to have you there. But suggesting that it can be closed tomorrow, the day after, until things are sorted, that is not going to happen. And I'm not going to raise false expectations. Sergeant?
Yeah, I don't think we're at that stage yet. It's not to say it won't happen in the future, but it's too early to look at closure orders at the moment. They have given me an undertaking as well, for what it's worth, the management team, that they will operate a zero tolerance policy. So any of the people living there that are caught offending will be evicted immediately. They are saying all the right things, but I appreciate from what I'm hearing tonight that your residents are at the wit's end. So let's see how it goes in the next few days. I'm on late, as I said, for, well, tonight, Friday and Saturday. I'm going to go out there myself and just to see how the land's lying with the premises. There are supposed to be staff on site from early morning all the way through until midnight, and they said they're employing security. So I'm going to make a point to go around and just see what it's like. I can see Daniel there shaking his head. I'm going on what they've told me, not what I've seen with my own eyes. I'm not doubting for 1 minute what you're all saying, and you can tell by the numbers on here that you're clearly, quite rightly, angry and upset about what's going on. So I do hear you and I get what you're saying.
So Pete, from a policing perspective, as you know that they're breaking the law, do we just call 999 every time we see something that is illegal?
Yeah. When I was giving the numbers, that's for Nechells neighbourhood team. Obviously, there's a response team on 24/7, and predominantly they're the team that have been going out to these incidents, and we've been hearing about them, obviously, afterwards, you know, when we're next on duty sort of thing, for hopefully the long-term solutions. But there is always a team on. Obviously, they still have to deal with things according to the threat harm risk. so I can't guarantee that you're going to get an immediate response. It will depend what's happening at the time. But by all means, carry on putting the calls in. If you don't, then we're not going to know about the scale of the issue. So there are always police on duty on the response teams.
Okay, thank you for that, Sergeant, and hope to meet some of you on Wednesday. Next item on the agenda is the local update. Pat, are you able to get the ward plan up? Because that was in discussion before lockdown happened.
Yes,
and
I'll try and do the link now for you, Councillor, if you just give me 1 minute.
thank you.
Hopefully.
And then if we can get that approved, then hopefully, I'm sure it's a document that can be added to as well. And we need something in there about these HMOs in the ward plan as well.
So, sorry, Councillor, can I just interrupt? I'll need to go on. I'm going on to call. But I just want to say, can I just say one last thing?
Yeah, sure.
The gentleman was speaking about what we can do. I've had a DC clerk from Erdington call me saying that they've had so many reports of things happening. And all we can do, if you see anything, is to document it, make notes of times, dates. If you could take photographs, videos, the more evidence we have of the ASB issues is the more ammunition we have in order for the councillor and such like to get this place shut down. Okay. And everybody, I've got to go, but it's very, I'm really happy to have met you all. Okay.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you, Daniel.
Okay. See you later, guys.
Yeah. Pat?
Can you still see the
Yeah.
Okay.
If you'd like to go on a page by
there's 41 pages.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, you wanted me to talk. I thought you were going to do it.
No,
Just place.
scroll
Sorry,
down.
the ward. Sorry, just to say to those that are looking, the ward plan is your ward plan. I've made some notes in terms of some of the issues that have come up today, particularly around housing and the HMOs. This plan started back in 2017-18. It's a working document and it has some information that is local to yourselves in terms of residents of Nechells. As I said, it's a working document and it's ever changing. There were some issues in terms of some of the funding and priorities that happened 2.5 years ago, a year and a half ago before the pandemic, and some of the spends that have happened in and around Nechells over the last 18 months. I'm just scrolling down for further information. Excuse me, close your eyes. My apologies. Here are some stats about Nechells that you may find useful. This information will be going onto the Birmingham website, so you can have a look at it at your pleasure. There are some information about Section 106. Sorry, I'm just down very quickly. I'm trying to get to your ward priorities. Right, your action plan, and I'm again, given today's conversations, the ward plan has several priorities, and it's blank at the moment, but we can insert things around the environment, for example. What are the actions needed, where and by whom and by when, and who are the stakeholders? Another one of your priorities that I picked up on, obviously, is about HMO and housing. Community involvement's another one, and someone asked about setting up a resident group. 2 weeks ago was in a conversation with some Nechells Assembly residents. I don't know if there are anyone on the call at the moment, but there is an offer of help to get community group or representation in Nechells up and ready. Should you wish to. Councillor, that's the end, unless you want to add something else to the ward plan.
HMO crime, that's the top priority. I'm going to open it up to residents for them to suggest what they would like to see in the top 3 priorities. Housing is another one, but I'll just like that confirmed by residents. There's a hand up by David. Yeah.
Hi. One of the things that I'd like to mention as well, separate to what we've already talked about today, is there's quite a few incidents with vehicles going down the roads around Nechells Park Road, Crompton Road, Elliott Street at quite a fast pace. And obviously there was an incident in the summer holidays where a 3-year-old child was significantly hurt as a result of some of the issues around traffic and cars. And I think that's something that also needs to be taken into consideration. And the other thing I was going to say is fly tipping, and I know that's been mentioned already today as well.
And boy races, which has been going on for several years, it keeps on disappearing and coming back as well. That doesn't do any justice to the area, especially on a Saturday, Sunday night. Anyone else? Pat, if you're able to fill that in for me sometimes within the next week or so and get it back to me so I can sign it off.
Yeah, I was just about to put in the chat, Councillor, the priorities. I said it can change. We've got HMO, housing, crime, public safety, road safety, David, with highways. Is that all right for you if we will put the two together?
Yes, I think so. And we, as a
And
school,
environment, street cleansing and fly tipping will be another priority. Yes?
Yeah.
Yes, that'd be great.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you very much. That's it, Councillor.
Okay, thanks, Pat. The next meeting is scheduled for Thursday, the 9th of December, again at 6:30. So if people can put that in the diaries, and we'll try and advertise that on social media and other methods as well. Thank you so very much for coming. And with that, I will declare the meeting closed. Thank you very much.
Thank you.